Okay guys, so today what we're going to be doing is we're going to make a little spindle grinder that would attach to my angle grinder here. This is just a regular 4.5 inch angle grinder. So this right here is going to be a coupling nut. So it's 5/8 of an inch coupling nut. If you notice that we put it on here, it just goes right on there just perfectly. So the threads match up and all. So what we're going to be doing is taking this over to my belt sander. Along with the use of this angle grinder, we're going to make this round and take some of these points off of this nut. So I'll see you over there at the angle grinder, or in the belt sander, in just a moment. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our angle grinder, plug it in. We're going to want to be sure we put some ear protection in because this is loud. One of the things that you need to be sure of when you're using these power tools like this is be sure and have your safety glasses on, some ear protection. And it's always a good idea to wear some gloves just to keep yourself protected a little bit. Alright, so as you notice that this belt is going to be spinning this way. And if we notice on here, the rotation of this is going this way. So if we were to put this on there and go this way, then it wouldn't be grinding at all. So what we're going to do, tighten it up a little bit by hand, and then we're going to turn it and we're going to grind it from this side, like this. So as you can see with this here, we're kind of just taking off those end points there. So that's one of the reasons why you want to use gloves, because this is going to get very hot. And you see it's burning my gloves a little bit there. So we'll do this a little bit longer until we get this thing to be perfectly round. Well, as you can see, we're getting pretty close to having that completely round. There's just a few tiny little burrs that are sticking out there from the hex head. But you're going to notice that it gets pretty hot when we work on this. So periodically you would want to get into some water. Be sure and unplug your grinder before you do this. And just take a bucket of water like this. And when you put the head into the piece of metal that we're working on into the water, just be sure and just get that one part in there. Remember, always unplug it so that you don't risk any electrocution. So what we're going to do is we're going to grind on this a little bit more. Get my gloves back on, and we'll see you in just a few minutes. Alright, so we're back over here at our regular workbench. If you notice, it's very close to being completely round. So just to finish it off, we're going to just take a regular, it's a 1 by 30 inch belt. I turn it on the inside out. So see, the inside is where the grit is right there. This is a 240. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this on. Now as you use this, be sure to also wear your gloves and your hearing protection and eye protection as well. But be careful not to get too much pressure or get this to where it will bind, because it will want to grab hold of you. So I'll show you how we can do this. So as you notice there, it's pretty much nice and round there, nice and polished up with that 240. So the next step is going to be to fasten some sandpaper onto this. And I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. Alright, so now we're ready to get ready to attach some sandpaper. So what we're going to do is basically the sandpaper is going to be attached around this spindle like that. So this is a good way to just measure it. Just wrap a scrap of this, and we see right where they come together. You want it to overlap just slightly over the other side so you don't have a gap. So that'll be the length that you're going to want to cut that. So what we'll do is we'll take a square, we'll place it on there at that part. See how we've attached the square, and we see the little pencil mark that we have right there. Go ahead and just run that across there, like that. Take a pair of scissors. Just cut right along that line. And we have their proper length, and it's just a tiny bit long for that. That can be trimmed off later if you like, or you can just leave it there and use the sandpaper as it is. So in order to attach this, what we're going to do is we're going to use some of this spray-on adhesive. So this is kind of like contact cement to a point. It's multi-purpose adhesive. See what it says there? It's a 3M multi-purpose adhesive. So you want to shake this can up really well. And then we're just going to spray it onto both parts. So we get a good layer of that. Now with this stuff, you also want to turn it upside down and blow it to where it comes just where it's air coming out, so that you don't get the nozzle clogged. We're going to go ahead and let this dry for a few minutes, and then we'll come back and attach it, and then we'll use our grinder. Alright, so we've let this sit for a little while. We noticed that the stuff is really tacky, so what we'll do is we'll pick up this other side of this. If you notice here, what we're going to do is get it flush to where the bottom is. So this thing is going to be spinning this way, right? So what we're going to do is set that on there and roll this thing around. See how it sticks to it really nicely? Stick that underneath there. There. Now, see how it's nice and tight onto that spindle, that spray on adhesive. So, attach this to here. Get it snug. Now, one of the things that I was wanting to use this for, well, sometimes I build knives, which we'll show another episode of this later on. This knife was just built out of an old table saw blade. So if you notice, you can kind of see some of the markings in there from where the table saw was turning. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this spindle to kind of grind through some of that stuff there. So let's turn it on. As you can see, it works really nice. We're able to get nice and tight into some of those grooves. Do a little bit more work on this, but makes it nice and smooth for your fingers. And remember, as we continue to work on all this stuff, be safe and have fun as you're making things.